sports cavalcade.
Because you usually hear just two languages, English, and with Mexico only a few miles away, Spanish. Today at Carlsbad, things are a bit more international.
Bonjour, bienvenue à Carlsbad, au sud de la Californie.
今日のレース、モトクロスレースでは皆様にきっといいレースを見せるように頑張りますんで。
Bom, esse é um dos circuitos mais antigos do mundo e também dos mais difíceis do mundo.
It's good to see all you mates again and Diamond P Sports. Here's Steve Evans.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It is a pleasure to be back at beautiful Carlsbad Raceway on a perfect Southern California day for some high-flying motocross competition. For the story on what we'll be seeing today, here's my buddy, Brock Yates.
Well, Steve, as you say, there's a highly international flavor to the riders here. But the motorcycles, well, they're from one nation, Japan. And we've got the big four, Suzuki, Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha, all represented here in the 250cc class. Now, you're going to see world-class riders in this class, big horsepower motorcycles. But we got an interesting little class here. These are the 80 expert bikes. Little guys, but don't be deceived by their size. They generate about 25 horsepower, and the kids that ride them, well, they're between 12 and 16 years of age. The young stars of this sport, some super riders, and we're going to see some terrific competition from them. In fact, they're on the line right now.
On the line, Brock, of America's most famous motocross course, Carlsbad Raceway, in San Diego County, just a few miles from the Blue Pacific. It was here that motocross racing in America actually began back in the mid-1960s. This is Buddy Antunez, the #1 CMC mini expert. He's a factory Suzuki rider from Ontario, California.
Currently ranked #1 in the standings here, Steve, and I would imagine we got to include him as a favorite to win this first moto for these 80cc motorcycles, although he's got some very serious competition, as in Joel Albrecht from Resch Canyon, California. He is one of the Kawasaki factory riders.
Kawasaki with a very formidable team here at Carlsbad today, including the rider currently who stands #4 in this sport. That is Tommy Clowers from Santee, California.
In fact, all the riders in this moto, or most of them, are from California. They've got 9 laps on this extremely challenging course, Steve.
And all of them will ride 2 motos, Brock, of 9 laps each. They'll receive 1 point for first, 2 points for second, 3 for third, and so on and so forth. The lowest point combined of the 2 motos wins the day. And they are off thundering down into the left-hander that is turn #1. The only time it is used is at the start.
And everybody funnels through there safely. Every time you see one of those things, you wonder if they're all going to go down. But as usual, they all navigated successfully and head down toward the first hairpin on this Carlsbad course.
And the leader is #173, Honda-mounted Willie Bowden. Right behind him is Buddy Antunez, who we saw at the gate, 76B, followed by 55R Brian Roth and #710 Butch Smith.
All right, here comes Willie Bowden. You can tell he's on that Honda. He's got that red tank and front fender, but Antunes challenges as they head toward the jump on the outside. Antunes takes the lead down into the hollow, and Bowden almost goes down, Steve.
Well, I'll tell you, these bikes are just bullet fast, Brock. You figure they only weigh 135 pounds or so, make 24 horsepower, 6-speed transmissions, and you would put an 80 or 90-pound rider on it, you've got a real bundle of power.
All right, Bowden tries to hold on to second, but he's being challenged by Brian Roth of Fair Oaks, California, on a Kawasaki. But here comes Butch Smith on a Suzuki. He blows right past Brian Roth and challenges Bowden. Let's see if he can pass him, Steve.
Well, a lot of riders now, Brock, starting to make up for some mediocre starts. Maybe they didn't get the lead into turn #1, but they're more than compensating for it now. You've got Butch Smith on the yellow Suzuki, and right behind him on the Kawasaki is Brian Roth. Out of our picture, up in the lead is Buddy Antunez, but this certainly is the race. A little bit of a bubble there by the Suzuki rider.
Yeah, it was. Smith almost came down as we watch him, though, now extend his lead in that second spot. Roth trying to hang on to him, and Bowden has fallen back on the Honda. There's the big jump just before the end of the first lap, as the riders complete lap #1, and we've still got Antunes in the lead. things are stringing out right now. It's amazing how quickly the faster riders go to the front in one of these things. Skill really counts, Steve.
Well, like Tommy Clowers, number 78 on the green Kawasaki, he has passed 173 Willie Bowden on the red Honda to move into fourth. And now Bowden is fifth. Dana Wiggins on the Suzuki 7L is sixth. And Dustin Evans on a Kawasaki is in the seventh spot.
Okay, Dana Wiggins is now challenging Bowden on the 7L Suzuki. You can see him right there moving up on Bowden. Remember, Willie had the lead early, but now he's fallen back to fifth spot and being challenged by Dana Wiggins on a Redlands, California on that Suzuki. You can tell the Suzuki's there carrying the yellow livery, the Honda's red, the lime green for the Kawasaki's, all pretty distinctive. So at least it's hard to tell the riders without the numbers on their backs, but at least you can tell the kind of motorcycles they're on, Steve.
Well, in motocross, Brock, the last thing you wear out on the motorcycle is the seat. Because on a course like Carlsbad, you just don't spend that much time on it. You're constantly up off the seat as you see the youngsters there using those knees as shock absorber. When you do get on the seat is when you want traction.
That's right. When you'll see them sit down as they make those slower corners. But for the rest of the ride around this very difficult course, they're up on the pegs as Joel Albrecht, 72 Kawasaki, challenges 7L Dana Wiggins on Suzuki for the sixth spot. Can he do it?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. But you know, Joel Albrecht is showing some maturity here. This is a long race. They got a lot of time to pass. If you get in a hurry now, make a mistake and go down, well, you're going to lose a number of positions. So he's going to bide his time a little more, Brock.
Absolutely. Hard to believe it, but patience is a virtue in this kind of competition. You can't get too eager or you'll pay a big price. As finally, Joel Albrecht does pass Dana Wiggins and moves into the sixth spot.
And he waited for a nice wide move, and we have got a rider down there. That is Brian Robb, number 55R on the Kawasaki. He has fallen, and that's going to move everybody up that was behind him.
Absolutely. So we've got Mantunas leading at Butch Smith on another Suzuki in second spot. Tommy Clowers holds on in Kawasaki in the third spot. Another Kawasaki, Joel Albrecht in fourth. And the first Honda, Willie Bowden, still hanging in there, but he is giving way slowly to the Kawasaki's and the Suzuki.
Well, Dana Wiggins at 7L bike. He is hungry for one more spot, and he has got it. He's passed himself another Kawasaki, and Dana has moved into the fifth spot on that number 7 motorcycle, coming right into your living room.
Boy, Steve, we got a battle for the fifth spot. Wiggins, Dustin Evans on 8E, 99.8, Derek Natvik, Suzuki, and then there's Willie Bowden back there, all hanging in, but what a scramble these guys are in right now.
And what a test of endurance it is for kids of this age and this size. Look at the beatings that their arms take. You see all of them trying to keep those elbows bent, trying to stay loose, not rip the bars too hard. It's really the arms that take the pounding. The arms and the legs, but the arms will go first.
Well, physical conditioning is absolutely as critical as the good motorcycle underneath you, and possibly more so, as these riders work all the way around. There's absolutely not a moment to rest, unlike a lot of forms of motorsports. Usually on a straightaway, you get a little time to kind of relax a bit, but never, never in motocross.
And here is 99.8 Derek Natvik on the Suzuki. He has gone right by 80 Dustin Evans on the Kawasaki for the sixth spot, and we have got another rider down. That is Dana Wiggins. He has fallen, trying to kickstart that fight, get it going. In fact, we got two riders stuck right there.
Derek Natvik also went down in that little melee, too. They'll both get up and keep on, but they fall well back as there's your leader, Buddy Antunes. Suzuki is just wailing around here. He has disappeared from the competition and appears to be on his way as the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals continues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The office buildings in downtown San Diego, and the pressures of business start to get to you, the frustrations. You just walk a few yards to your sailboat and you're on Mission Bay. And the quality of the San Diego sailors has well been proven by Dennis Connors. The America's Cup is in the San Diego Yacht Club, just a few blocks from this sea.
Oh, you never confuse this with the yacht racing as Buddy Antunes continues to lead Moto 1 of the 80cc expert here at Carlsbad. Right behind him, Butch Smith on yet another Suzuki, and then followed up by 3 Kawasaki's. Okay, but here's the race for 7th. That's Dana Wiggins on 7. Now, remember, he fell earlier, and Pete Piantanita on a Honda is now challenging him. But what a comeback by Dana Wiggins, who went down and then still hanging in there pretty well, Steve.
In fact, he's made up several of the positions he lost while kick-starting that little motorcycle back to life. Look at the air these kids get, Brock. That's what they call it, air. But, you know, you really want to stay on the ground as much as you can, because that's the only time that rear wheel is driving.
Yeah, the kind of showboating really doesn't pay off very well for you, does it? If as long as that thing's in the air, it's not going very fast. You know, Steve mentioned that these things are really power-packed little machines, these 80cc bikes, but earlier he had a chance to take a detailed look at what technical miracles these little 80cc bikes are.
To a lot of people, the words mini bike conjure up an image of a little machine that kids use to terrorize the neighborhood. But in the world of motocross, a mini bike is a very sophisticated and serious machine. In fact, the manufacturers pour as much technology into their creation as they do anything in their product line, because kids all over the world buy and race these machines. And what a ride these youngsters get when you consider that this bike produces over 25 horsepower and weighs only 130 pounds. It has even more power to weight than the 250 bikes we'll be seeing later on. So when you put an 80-pound youngster on this machine, he gets every bit the thrill of competition that the riders of the 250s do, and in fact he's only several ticks of the clock slower than the big brothers.
Mighty impressive machines, to say the least, as we watch 710 Butch Smith on Suzuki holding on to that 2nd place. And Buddy Antunes, Steve, has kind of disappeared, but Smith has opened up as well. He's got himself a good solid hold on 2nd place.
Well, Buddy's performance here today is of no surprise to anybody, particularly the man in 2nd place, Butch Smith. In fact, the two of them rank 1 and 2 in the CMC point standings right now in this Golden State Series.
Oh, you can see why. They're riding with great poise and skill around this extremely bumpy circuit. But Butch Smith there, good view of the technique that young man has developed, and obviously on his way to a great future in motocross riding.
Now, you'll see the rider occasionally use his rider's left foot, depending on the direction of the turn, just like that, as kind of a rudder. That is not something that the novice motorcycle rider should ever do. Keep your feet on the pegs as much as possible. When you get to the level of this young man and you're just about to turn pro for about $1 million, you can do almost anything you want. But there's some tips you really shouldn't try to learn from these kids.
It's an educational experience, I'll guarantee. As we watch Steve Kottajari and Sean Thornton battle for 12th on a pair of Suzukis. They're hanging in there, trying their best.
Now, Kottajari, he comes wide into the turn and travels a few more feet, actually, than Thornton did, but they both seem to end up in the same place.
Well, Thornton had a shot at him there, but couldn't quite make it work when he kind of bobbled a little bit. But let's see if he goes back at him as he moves right in on his tail as they take that big jump, completing yet another lap here at Carlsbad. And he does take it, moves into 12th. Steve got off that jump real well.
He did indeed, Brock. You know what? It's interesting to see how some of these riders really shine under certain conditions. Some of the riders just love the downhill. They're just wide open all the way down and use very little brake. Others have been intimidated by the downhill, but they don't mind a high-flying jump. They might even jump over the top of another rider. So, you know, different strokes for different riders.
I suppose that's true for most of them, but with this young man, Steve, Buddy Antunes, he seems to be comfortable virtually everywhere on this course. Uphill, downhill, jumps, flat stuff. He is doing a beautiful job as he's just dominated this event from the start.
And I have to tell you, he's like a 6'7" all-city high school basketball senior. The pros, the colleges, everybody are looking at an athlete like that. And here, the factories, you know, have got their eye on Buddy Antunes. It's just who wants to bid the highest price when he decides to go that route.
Well, he definitely will be in the market here fairly soon as he advances to some of the bigger and stronger and faster classes. As Antunes heads down on his final lap to what appears to be an almost certain victory unless he takes his pill. And the way he's been riding, I would not bet on that.
And let's remember, there'll be another moto to come later on featuring all these same riders, and it's a combined point score. Those with the lowest score, kind of like golf, will be the overall victor.
As he heads down the longest, fastest straightaway on this course, called the Freeway, from the high point on Carlsbad, down this hill and around this little hairpin, and Antunes riding probably a little more conservatively now that he's established such a big lead, I would say.
Oh, absolutely, Brock. And that freeway we just saw him negotiate is probably the most difficult part of this course. Requires all the skills a rider has. has in balance, in using the front brake properly, staying off that rear brake in most cases. That's really a challenging part of the course, as I'm sure the pros will tell us later on today.
Oh, we watch Antunes heading toward the final jump that will lead him to victory in this first moto. So here he is, Devil's Drop, and a little profiling, kind of a little aerobatic riding as he heads across the finish line. Buddy Antunes wins the first moto for 80cc.
But out on the course, there's still a terrific race going on for the 6th position. Number 24, Chad Semanjic on the red Honda, being challenged by 7-0 Dana Wiggins on the Suzuki. You'll remember Dana fell running in the 5th position. He lost a few when he was laying there on the ground and trying to restart. He's worked his way back up to 7th now and would like to go back to the pits with a 6th place finish. Less points, a better score. Now, oh, and he gets bogged down, and Dana is down again. He got in that muddy stuff rock, and it was just like quicksand.
It sure was. He didn't really fall as so much as you say. He just kind of bogged down and fell off, kind of rolled the bike off. What a tough break. So he doesn't really lose a place, but he, of course, fails in his opportunity to get by Chad Semanjic for that 6th spot.
So Dana Wiggins 7-0. He'll have to settle for 7th and a dirty set of leathers.
And not a happy young man, I'll guarantee you. Highly disappointed after those 2 little bobbles that he had. So, Buddy Antunes wins it. Butch Smith, Tommy Clowers, Joel Albrecht, and Dustin Evans. Now, remember, in descending order, and that's the point totals they get. So, Antunes has 1, and Dustin Evans, of course, 5. Low point score wins it out of the 2 motos. Now, let's go to Steve with the winner.
Well, Buddy, your hot hand continues. That was a magnificent ride, young man.
Thank you. I really just try to get a good start and stay smooth and consistent throughout the race and not try too hard and just stay up.
It's a warm day. Tough work out there.
Yeah, the track's kind of rough. It's kind of groovy, but it's real tacky, so it works out okay.
Let me ask you a question. You're described as a factory rider. In the world of minis, what does that mean?
Well, that means I get free bikes, free parts, and R&D takes out my bikes to the races in a box van. And pretty much I just get everything for free.
But no paycheck?
Yeah, a little bit of money.
A little bit can come in handy. Good luck in the 2nd moto.
Okay, thank you.
If you thought that was fun, stick around. We'll be right back from Carlsbad, California with the first moto for the 250cc pros.
Somebody told 9-year-old Greg Groom of Escondido, California to go fly a kite. So he did, but he better start reeling it in, because at the starting gate here at Carlsbad Raceway, the first moto of the 250 pros, the very best 2-wheel riders in the world in the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals. I'm Steve Evans, along with Brock Yates. And Brock, the talent assembled here today at Carlsbad is absolutely incredible. Not only the foreign riders, some of whom we met at the top of the show, but the best of the American pros. And they are the best in the world. The reason the foreign riders are here, like Jeff Leask of Australia, is to learn to ride and train like the Americans. Leask has taken up residency here, as a matter of fact. And one of the biggest names in motocross, one of the highest paid of the factory riders, Jeff Ward, number 58, Mission Viejo, California, well known for his physical regimen and his training.
Small, compact body, a classic rider. But here's his arch rival, perhaps the greatest of them all. A lot of people say maybe the greatest natural talent, Rick Johnson. Unbelievable athlete, unbelievable rider, and a great attitude, too.
And 1 year ago here, Brock, at Carlsbad, Ricky Johnson put on a show of courage like none I've ever seen. Look in this circle on your screen. You see the number 1 rider? Well, watch the helmet just behind him. That is Rick Johnson. In one of the qualifying heats, he is down. He is hit by 1 rider. Then another. The punishment continues. A 3rd rider tries to miss Johnson, gets him with the side of the bike, scrapes the peg across his back. Here comes another assailant. This is the Frenchman Jacques Dumas, the World 500 champion, and he just broadsides Ricky Johnson. Ricky was done for the day, right? Wrong. Ricky Johnson came back to win overall in the 250cc pro class. It's a show, Brock, that I will never forget, and neither will any of the fans who saw it.
Well, Steve, the ability to withstand pain is a foregone conclusion in this kind of competition. Take, for example, Brock Glover, one of the other stars in this field. He broke his leg last year and is on the comeback trail.
In fact, he broke the femur bone in his leg very early last season. Hasn't been on a bike except for last weekend in nearly a year. Can he come back to the form he has exhibited over the past half dozen years as a pro for Yamaha? Here's the start of the 250 class. Any rider will tell you the start is so critical, and it's also mighty scary as they funnel down to that left-hand turner. Ooh, and we got a rider down right in front of our camera. That is number 65, Ron Turner, but he's not the only casualty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the riders down, but there's no injury. Everybody back up firing their bike.
Well, we got some heavy hitters in there. We got George Holland, one of the factory riders. He was down on a Honda, and Isho Ida on a Honda, a factory rider, was also down from Japan. So a couple of the serious players were involved in that little first turn tangle.
On the mean green machine, that is Jeff Ward in the lead on the Kawasaki. And just behind Ward is number 911. That is the Yamaha support rider, 16-year-old Sean Kalos. Brock Glover got an excellent start. He is in the third spot on the Yamaha. Rick Johnson is in fourth. That's the bike R1. In fifth spot, 11X, Rick Ryan on the Honda. Then comes Mickey Diamond, 60 with the Yamaha.
There's your interval. There's Jeff Ward, and right behind him, Sean Kalos, Brock Glover, Rick Johnson, Rick Ryan, Mickey Diamond, all in there, just struggling for that second spot.
Well, anytime Jeff Ward, Sean Kalos, Brock Glover, and Rick Johnson all get a good start and are in the top four, you're going to have a battle on your hands. This could be classic motocross.
Oh, it's already starting out to be mighty wild as we watch a battle for second place. Young Sean Kalos on 911, a Yamaha, and the veteran Brock Glover also on a Yamaha, and behind them, that number 1 R1, watch him, Rick Johnson.
Oh, and they call Rick Johnson the king of Carlsbad, Brock, for good reason. He'd really like to join that party up in front of the battle for second because Brock Glover was his mentor, his hero when he was going to high school and first started professional riding. They come from the same town, El Cajon, just a few miles south of here. It is Sean Kalos in the second spot, the number 911 on his back, riding the Yamaha. In third spot is 54 Brock Glover, also a Yamaha. And behind him, R1 Rick Johnson on the Honda. So Johnson is the highest placed Honda rider at the moment, Brock.
Well, Steve, it's interesting to see if young Sean Kalos can hold off these two veterans, these two killers that are riding right behind him. Kalos is just barely able to hold a driver's license, and right now he is holding off two of the finest motocross riders in the entire world, maybe in the history of the sport. As Johnson took a really hard shot at Brock Glover, but couldn't make it work. He got way out wide and almost got up beside Glover and then fell back a little bit.
They're starting down the Carlsbad Freeway. This is where talent and guts always services. Sean Kalos, the youngster, number 911. He is second only to Jeff Ward. Behind him comes Brock Glover, then Ricky Johnson. He knows they're there. Glover closes up on the rear fender of that Yamaha, but can't get around him. Look at Johnson, the third place rider in your picture on the Honda. All of them, Brock, have the throttles. Whoa! And Sean Kalos and Brock Glover come together, but it is Glover who survives.
He rode right through him. A beautiful move on the part of Brock Glover. Kalos falters just a little bit, and now Johnson challenges him in that tight corner. Almost got through, but Kalos is being now bracketed by two of the finest riders ever. And Johnson challenges over the Devil's Drop. You notice Johnson didn't use much air there, Steve. He stayed right on the ground to keep that wheel running hard as he tries to get underneath the youngster, and Kalos bobbles a little bit, but still held Johnson off.
Well, I think Johnson backed up the throttle a little bit to keep from running into Sean and taking them both out. But there is Ricky Johnson on the inside, right alongside Sean Kalos. Could this be the pass? Not quite. Johnson goes to the outside, using that boot to keep him right side up. Oh, I tell you, Sean Kalos right now is going to school in motocross.
He's doing a super job. There he goes. Finally, Johnson works his way past him over the jump, but Sean Kalos held him off for over a lap, and the kid's got a lot to be proud of and a great future, no question about it. As Ricky Johnson now puts some daylight between himself and Sean Kalos, and in the meantime, Brock Glover has moved out a little bit into that second spot, so Johnson says goodbye to Kalos as we go into the race for fifth spot.
That's right. In fifth is Ron Lachine on the Kawasaki. Behind him, 60 is Mickey Diamond on the Yamaha. That's for the fifth spot. 43C, that's Eric Keogh. He's at the seventh spot on his Suzuki, followed by number 7, the Aussie Jeff Leask on the Honda. Leask is in the 8th spot. Well, everybody in this pack riding just as hard as the top 3 or 4 are up front, because obviously you want to score as well as you can. This is scored very much like the minis. There's going to be 2 full motos. Maybe you got a bad start on this moto. You can make it up in the second moto and still, if not winning, get a very high finishing place. And actually, the point score for the pros is a little bit different than the minis. Here it's the High Point wins. The winner receives as many points as there are bikes starting the moto. So a combination of the two motos, high point score, will be the champion here today. Mickey Diamond in the pink and white leathers on the number 6 Yamaha, still holding on to that 6th position. He just can't quite reel in number 53, Ron Lachine, on the Kawasaki.
So the battle continues, but we'll be back at Carlsbad, California for more of the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals after this. Well, that is another view of San Diego Harbor, beautiful Mission Bay with sailboats and some more serious ships in there as well. San Diego being one of the major ports of the United States Pacific Fleet. And I can tell you from personal experience, having spent about 2 years on one of those big ladies, that there's a lot of serious business going on there in the Navy State.
There's a lot of serious business going on right now at Carlsbad Raceway, such as the battle for second place among the 250 pros, the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals. That is Brock Glover just up ahead of Ricky Johnson. Glover, number 54, the factory rider from Yamaha, on the comeback trail. Rick Johnson, no comeback here. He's been on top of the sport for several years on the red Honda.
Interesting, though, you say, both from the same hometown, kind of the teacher and the student here. Still leading Glover on the comeback from a terrible break in that leg. That you wonder whether that's going to hold up for him, Steve. He's not been riding that competitively in that recuperation period, and now sitting in the second spot in this first moto for 250cc pro bikes.
Well, the pit talk is that Yamaha just flat said to Brock Glover, we think you're over the hill, you ought to retire, let us out of your contract. Glover said, give me a motorcycle. I'll prove you wrong. He's doing it right now.
Oh, he is. He's riding like the master that he is. Johnson seems to be able to catch him up a little bit in these tight corners, Steve, but then Brock pulls away on these straightaways. Whether or not that's bike has got a little bit more power, or whether he's just getting off the corners harder at this point, I don't know.
You know, the old cliche, there's horses for courses. The leader, who is way out in front, Jeff Ward, will tell you that he can't stand this course. Now look at this. Here is Ricky Johnson, and he takes second place over Brock Glover, and now sits out in search of Jeff Ward, who will tell anybody that will listen that he hates the Carlsbad course. He doesn't like to go this fast. The sheer speed down the freeway. That's his least favorite part of the course. He likes a little shorter outdoor courses and the indoor stadiums. But as far as Ricky Johnson and Brock Glover are concerned, they love Carlsbad.
Well, here we've got a fabulous race for fourth. Now, 53 Ron Lachine on a Kawasaki has also passed Sean Kalos, and he has fallen back. Mickey Diamond and Yamaha and the 43 Suzuki rider Eric Kehoe are all in there, but Kalos seems to be tiring a little bit, Steve, because some of the other riders are now catching him up.
Well, here we see 60. That is Ricky Diamond. He is a full Yamaha factory rider. He's trying to get around what's called a support rider. That is Sean Kalos, the youngster we've talked so much about, who we've seen over the last few years perform so well here at Carlsbad. Diamond really does not want to play second fiddle to a support rider, or he may be the support rider when we come back next year.
Wow, Diamond is having troubles with him, really. He got up right next to him for a few feet there and a few corners, but now Diamond's falling back a little bit. In fact, Diamond is being challenged now by Eric Kehoe on the Suzuki. So Diamond not only falling back behind Kalos, but is going to have to fight off a challenge from Kehoe as well. Well, Mickey Diamond's got his hands full right now. But Diamond and Eric Kehoe by no means have decided that race for sixth place. You know, a lot of people think that motorcycle technology stays kind of stagnant, but each year there's a new breakthrough. Earlier, Steve had a chance to look at the new bike from Yamaha.
Motocross bikes are so sophisticated already, the changes between model years usually are pretty subtle. In the case of Honda and their 250, the 88 bike has some lower components to get the center of gravity down lower for better control. The bike is a little bit narrower for more rider maneuverability. Yamaha has made the most dramatic changes in their 88 250. Now here's an 87. You'll see the conventional drum brake at the rear. Now take a look at a brand new 1988. Rejoice, Yamaha riders. They have finally gone to a hydraulic disc brake the last of the Japanese manufacturers to do so. You'll also, if you're familiar with the older bikes, notice the spoke pattern is different. They don't cross in the Z pattern. They're right straight into the hub. They're a good deal stronger, and you're not going to puncture a tire with a broken spoke. Also, on the older bike, it was a gold anodized wheel. Well, Yamaha quit anodizing. It saves them money, but also these wheels are easier to maintain, so it works for buyer and seller. Now, the swing arm here on the 88 is 5 millimeters longer, but most important is really something you can't see. Inside the mono shop, it has been completely redesigned, and it works so well that they have been able to eliminate the old brake actuated suspension right here, okay, that used to release the dampening under braking to eliminate the wheel hop. Well, it didn't eliminate anything. The riders call it Yamaha hop. Well, it's gone with the 1988 model. Now, a tremendous redesign also in the front end. Instead of the former conventional dampening front forks, these are now cartridge forks. They work far better. The brake on the front, the disc brake, is a good deal broader. It's going to take more heat and more abuse. Now, there's an awful lot of other things that have changed on this bike, both externally and internally, and it all adds up to this, the riders tell me. Even though these two bikes weigh almost exactly the same, this bike feels about 50 pounds lighter, and that does a lot for a rider's confidence.
Speaking of confidence, I think factory rider Mickey Diamond could use a little of it. He has fallen back. Eric Kehoe has passed him for the 6th spot. And here is that battle between Ron Lachine and Sean Kalos that has been going on lap after lap. They've been exchanging places. Right now, Lachine has got the 4th place. But here comes the kid Kalos up that hill, and he gets inside Lachine and takes back 4th.
Well, that looked like a power pass by Sean Kalos, Brock. He appeared to have just a few more oats up the hill than did Ron Lachine. So Sean Kalos has retrieved his 4th place. And now it's Eric Kehoe who is looking at Ron Lachine. In fact, looking at him pretty hard right here.
He sure is. So he has moved up and passed him. So there is the 43, Eric Kehoe, who's making a big charge toward the front.
And as all these riders continue, Brock, to power around these cars with those knobby tires, they're moving dirt equivalent to a D8 Caterpillar. So the course complexion is always changing.
Right, and it'll get big, big ruts on it, as you can see right there where Eric Kehoe got the bike in the air in a rut, and it's very easy to go down when it happens to you like that. There go the riders over the Devil's Drop. Kalos has moved out a little bit now on the other two, as there goes Kehoe, and behind him is Diamond. And right now, the youngster Kalos has found himself some extra speed.
We're also starting to see around the course some berms being built, and Jeff Ward uses those to perfection. He uses those berms to launch himself out of the corners and maintain that speed. Jeff Ward leads it. We'll be back to Carlsbad right after this. Stay with us. We were away from Carlsbad, California, and the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals. Eric Kehoe, number 43, the Suzuki rider, repassed number 911 Sean Kalos, the Yamaha star, to take over that 4th position. But as far as our leaders are concerned, there's no changes there. Jeff Ward is still out in front of the Kawasaki, followed by Rick Johnson on a Honda. Brock Glover, what a great afternoon for him on his Yamaha. Kehoe, as we said, Suzuki, and Sean Kalos, Yamaha. That's your top 5 runners.
Really, I think the story here, though, Steve, has been Kehoe. He fell way back at the start and then has kind of moved ahead. We saw him just move past both Kalos and Diamond, and there is Kalos trying to wipe some dirt clear of his goggles in that slow corner. But you can see that Kehoe has moved way out in front of Kalos, and I would imagine that he's got his mind on catching Brock Glover, but I don't know whether that's possible.
All right, going on to the last lap is our leader and our 2nd place runner, Jeff Ward and Rick Johnson, respectively. Now look at Johnson. He's the 3rd man through your picture there. The first rider is about to be lapped. That is Dean Madsen. But here is Jeff Ward getting around Madsen completely. Madsen moved over. Ricky Johnson is closing it up, and I'll tell you, these are the 2 riders the fans come to see at Carlsbad. Look at Madsen, very politely. He wants to watch this too. And right now he has got the best seat in the house as they head up the hill and down the freeway.
Oh, this is going to be a finish. Johnson is pulling in. He's reeling in Jeff Ward right now down the freeway. You said that Jeff Ward may not be as comfortable here. Johnson loves it down through here. This is the fastest part of this course. Now they're hard on the brakes and that left-hander and back up the hill. Now wheel stand by Jeff Ward. Is he trying, do you think, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. This more than money, more than a trophy or a kiss from a pretty girl. This is Ricky Johnson he's trying to outrun right now.
There's Johnson almost up on his rear fender. This is going to be a race to the finish, guaranteed. Oh, Ward pulled out a little bit there. Johnson bobbled slightly, and Ward gets himself about a 5 or 6 bite lead.
And that may be all he needs. Jeff Ward is going to win moto number 1. Ricky Johnson in the 2nd spot. Oh, boy. I'll tell you, the fans liked it. I liked it. Did you like it?
You bet. As we see the final standings, Ward, Johnson, Glover, Eric Kehoe, Sean Kalos holds on to finish 5th. But this deal is far from over. We've got another motor to go. Jeff Ward has himself 41 points, but there'll be another event, and the total of those two will determine the final winner. All right, in victory lane, Steve Evans is with Jeff Ward.
Well, Jeff, from where we stood, it looked like a perfect race. What about from the seat?
Felt all right. My arms were a little tight. I was going a little bit squirrely, excuse me, at the beginning, and then I loosened up and I was just running smooth, and then that lapper, the last lap, held me for about 4 corners and really got Ricky close, and I loosened up a little bit at the end and felt all right.
The track is drying out. It's going to get even drier before the final moto. What do you tell your tuners to do to this bike? What do you recommend?
Now we're running a dry track tire right now, and the bike's perfect, so we'll run the same thing we ran this moto. Just be a little more careful on the corners, and hopefully I'm out front again.
See you then.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Brock Yates with 2nd.
Well, Steve, Rick played a super job at catch-up, but we understand he had a little throttle problem. Is that right?
No, it's not my throttle. It's my grip on my clutch hand side, and it started spinning and getting loose, and I could only hang on with 2 fingers. I still couldn't hang on that tight, so I was afraid to charge anything really fast because I was afraid it might pop off.
You were struggling with Kalos first, and then Glover, and after you got by him, Jeff had gotten a pretty good lead on everybody. You just couldn't seem to make it up.
Yeah, I think I could have made it up if my grip wouldn't have slipped. I got right on his tail at the finish, and I think I would have had a better chance. I would have made that time up sooner if my grip wouldn't have been falling off. But he rode a good race. He got a good start. He was the first one across the finish line, and that's what everyone's going to remember.
Well, we got one more to go, so we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, I feel good about next moto. I feel my arms didn't pump up that bad. I got the bike working really good. The people at Honda did an excellent job, and I'm ready to race some more.
Good deal. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
For sure. Okay, let's go to Steve with the 3rd place finisher.
Well, for a man who a lot of people said wouldn't even race this season due to injuries last year, Brock Glover, a 3rd place finish, it's got to feel pretty satisfying.
Yeah, you know, I felt pretty good out there. I haven't been racing that speed for a long time, so, you know, it's kind of hard, and my arms started pumping up right away, so it's just a matter of time before I can start racing with those guys, and, you know, when I get up to their speed, then things will start, you know, I'll become more relaxed and not hold on so tight.
You know, we heard that term, arms pumping up. Explain what that means.
It's probably the worst thing for a motocrosser. It's like the biggest nightmare you can have. And Ricky's arms probably started pumping up, and his grip was coming loose, probably holding on real tight.
What does pumping up mean, though?
It just means when I'm holding on so tight, it's that your muscles, you know, come so engulfed with blood that they actually start to cramp, and then at that point you lose a lot of your strength, and it's hard to hang on to the bike. And usually it's caused from not riding relaxed enough, but with the pace as intense as it is here today, it's really hard to be relaxed going as fast as you've ever gone before. So for me, it's, you know, I just got to get used to going that fast and learn to relax. But, you know, anytime anyone has arm pump up, it's a very dangerous thing, actually, and a lot of us have learned to ride with it by, you know, trying to go a little bit slower, but you basically lose a lot of feel for the motorcycle.
See you shortly.
All right, thanks.
Well, we're ready for another race. That's Buddy Antunes, the winner of the first moto and 80cc expert. He's ready to go. We'll be right back for his race.
Earlier, Brock Yates talked from a personal perspective about the naval presence in San Diego. Well, I can speak from a personal perspective about the beautiful, old, famed Hotel del Coronado. If you plan to stay there, bring a lot of money, because they're not giving anything away in that joint.
I'll flat guarantee. I used to live in Coronado, and I couldn't even afford the parking lot. Beautiful place, one of the great landmarks in the United States. And speaking of landmarks, Steve, I guess a motocross rider would call Carlsbad the same thing.
They do. Let's take a look at the riders with the best chance to win overall in the mini experts. Joel Albrecht, he was 4th in the earlier moto. Tommy Clowers on his Kawasaki 78.8, he finished 3rd. Right now he's keeping that throttle, winging it, so the motor stays clean and the spark plug doesn't foul up. Now, 2nd in the earlier moto was this young man, number 710, Butch Smith. He is on a Suzuki, but the guy really to watch, of course, is 76B, Buddy Antunes, who finished 1st. He was flying. It was no contest.
Antunes dominated the first moto, Steve, as you say. We'll see if he can do it again. We've got just about ready to go. The start, the motorcycles are revved up, and we're off. Funneling down toward that tight left-handed first turn, that hairpin, where we see a lot of trouble. Let's see if everybody makes it this time.
Well, they're all still upright at 173. Willie Bowden got another terrific start. He is in the lead. Brian Roth is in second, 55R, and Buddy Antunes, again, he's going to have to work on the first and probably the second lap. He is down in the third spot at 76 feet. Still a great start.
I've got to tell you, Willie Bowden, he is terrific off the line. That's the second time that he just out-dragged everybody into turn one with that little Honda of his, and he's still holding on.
Look at Buddy Antunes, though. He is now right there, moved into second place on the yellow Suzuki, number 76B. And from what I've seen of Buddy Brock, I don't think he plans to stop there.
Oh, I'm sure he doesn't. He has got Willie Bowden in his sights, and there it is. He has taken the lead before the first lap is completed. Antunes perhaps on his way to dominating this second moto, just like he did the first. Oh, of course, there's a long way to the finish, and one little bobble can put you down. But right now, Antunes has moved out, opening up here as they head down the freeway. Still, Bowden holds on to the second spot, but I don't know whether or not he can hold off some of these faster riders.
Well, as far as second is concerned, 55R Brian Roth has passed 173 Willie Bowden to take that second spot.
Well, Willie Bowden just doesn't seem to have quite as quick a motorcycle, Steve. He's got good reflexes and good instincts, but he does not seem to be able to stay with the leaders in terms of raw speed.
Well, if it was a drag race into the first turn, Willie Bowden would win every race.
He would indeed. Right now, though, he's being challenged by Joel Albrecht in that 72, and we'll see whether or not Willie can hold him off. There is Albrecht right behind Willie Bowden as they move around toward the Devil's Drop, and that will complete the first lap.
Hey, look at this. Willie Bowden, 173, has retaken second right over the Devil's Drop. What a nice move that was.
Willie is one Honda against the world. He's surrounded by Suzukis and Kawasaki. Swarms of them, but he holds them off, Steve.
Oh, yeah, he is doing a fine job on the little red machine. And a great race there for the third spot as 7L Dana Wiggins on the Suzuki is going to pass 72 Joel Albrecht. He is now in third spot as he drives around Albrecht Kawasaki.
All three of those riders under a blanket, really, as Bowden still holds on to second. Right behind him, though, come Wiggins and Joel Albrecht. So those three riders going at it really hard here.
I hope everyone appreciates what they're seeing here, Brock. There are thousands upon thousands of mini riders all over this country, but these are the very best the world has to offer. And take a look at this. It is 72 Joel Albrecht. He has passed Dana Wiggins, 7L, for the third spot.
And he's challenging Willie Bowden for that second spot. So the man on the move right now is Joel Albrecht. Let's see. Yes, he does. He moves into second spot, passing Willie Bowden after a valiant effort on the part of Bowden. And now it's possible that Bowden is going to give way to Dana Wiggins as well.
You watch these helmeted gladiators go at it here, and you have to remember that behind those spacemen are really children.
Yeah, kids that might be shooting marbles out in the driveway rather than riding 60, 70 miles an hour on expert motorcycles like this. These are fabulously talented young men, I got to say that. All right, here's the race for third place, Steve. Continues between Willie Bowden, Dana Wiggins, and Tommy Clowers. Brian Roth has also moved in there on 55R. So that struggle is relentless. In fact, Willie Bowden's been in the middle of it right from the start. He's had a motorcycle around him all the way. He hasn't had any clear riding ever since the flag drop. No, but he seems to handle that pressure awfully well. Well, as does Dana Wiggins, 7L, currently in that third spot. And as I said earlier, winning in mini class racing is as important to the factories as anywhere else because they sell a whole lot of these motorcycles. The kids read all the magazines. They know what's going on when they go to the motorcycle shop. Hey, Steve, here comes Butch Smith, 710. He's been at the back of the pack, but now he's moved into that mob to challenge for Tommy Clowers. So we got Wiggins, Butch Smith, everybody in the middle of that mess, all scrambling around. There they come. There is 710, Butch Smith, And 78, that is Tommy Clowers.
Well, 7'10" Butch Smith, Brock, he is now in the 4th position as he got around 7L Dana Wiggins. Well, here's that green machine of Tommy Clowers. He is tenaciously hanging on to the 3rd spot, but going after it with the grip twisted as far as it'll go is Butch Smith, number 710, the yellow bike, the Suzuki. Look at these two kids go at it, Brock.
And here comes another mob. They're in a battle for 6th spot, and that is Dustin Evans. He is pulled off the course, and 99, Derek Natvik, he almost spilled. He took a little bobble there in the middle of that corner, but hangs on and carries on.
And Derek on the 99 bike, he is in the 7th spot, just behind 173, Willie Bowden. And behind Derek, in the 8th spot, is 55R Brian Roth. But that could change any second now.
It's interesting. I don't know whether Willie Bowden is getting tired or whether the motorcycle just isn't working well for him, but he is just having a terrible time holding on after a very courageous ride at the early stages of this race.
Well, Brock, I think your conjecture on tired is probably accurate. Can't imagine why. Young man been out here just blasting around this racetrack for a long, long time. And there he is, and I think you're seeing right there. He just doesn't quite have the physical strength now to keep up.
Well, bringing up right behind him is Brian Roth on that Kawasaki, and trying to, from Fair Oaks, California, trying to move past Willie Bowden. But right now, Willie hangs on and doing his best out there.
You know, it's interesting, Brock. You watch Willie right here. Willie's not even in the top 10 as far as the points are concerned among the mini experts. And the highest place rider on a Honda is Brian Walters in the 8th place. So this is Willie just trying awfully hard.
He's doing as best as he can. He's kind of a sentimental favorite here because, as you say, he's the only Honda among the lead bikes, and he's not even a very big kid, you know. All these guys are little tiny fellas, but Willie doesn't even look that, he looks small compared to a lot of the other riders.
Well, I'll tell you what, he is just... Oh, Willie Bowden is down. Willie Bowden is down, and I don't have to tell you, hard.
Took a very hard spill, holding on to his right knee. And the motorcycle, he's not going to get back up. Let's just hope that he doesn't get clouded. Fortunately, there doesn't seem to be many riders behind him, and Willie is in a lot of pain.
And there's flag people all over this course to get out the yellow and slow down the riders that are coming. Let's watch Willie in the center of your screen on the red bike. And right there, it just slides out from under him.
Well, you can see that's a graphic, unfortunate example of how critical balance is on this course and how much on the ragged edge these riders are all the time.
Well, Willie Bowden right now being attended to, and now they're going to very carefully carry him to the sidelines and await the ambulance and some medical attention. We'll keep you posted on the condition of this young man from Red Oak, Texas.
Back at Carlsbad, California for the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans, and Buddy Antunes continues to lead the 80cc Expert Moto number 2, Steve. He has really never been headed from about the 2nd turn on the 1st lap.
Well, the power of that 80cc Suzuki coupled with this youngster's ability, well, they have just been unbeatable so far. And the green machine with the red seat, that's the rider in the 2nd spot. On a Kawasaki, Joel Albrecht, that is bike number 72. He is, and he is down. Not nearly as hard as poor Willie Bowden, and in much softer terrain, Brock. In fact, it's kind of gooey right there.
It sure is, and he's having a hard time picking that bike back up out of that muck and trying to get it restarted, but a whole bunch of guys have passed him. Let's take another look at it. Looks like a fairly routine spot on the course, Steve, but he hit that hard stuff, and the front wheel just goes out from under him, and the bike comes back over on his left leg, but he's right up and trying to get back at it. But unfortunately, the motorcycle's stuck in some pretty heavy mud. So there is Joel Albrecht, the former 2nd place rider, trying to get back underway.
Well, in 2nd place right now is number 710, Butch Smith on a Suzuki. And in 3rd place, not that far behind him, is 78A on a Kawasaki, Tommy Clowers.
Butch Smith, though, if he stays up, he should pretty well hold on to 2nd place. He's not really being challenged, but of course, Albrecht wasn't really being challenged when he went down either.
Now, Willie Bowden is on the stretcher, as you can see, alongside the racetrack where he fell. They're taking their time with the young man, making sure he's stable. And obviously, he's conscious and worried that his helmet might get left behind. And we'll continue to follow that story until we know the exact condition of the young rider from Texas.
All right, last lap. Buddy Antunes won. Last leap over the Devil's Drop. A big high ride for him. He kind of profiles it to take the victory and, of course, the overall title here because he's just been a runaway winner in both motos. All right, now that the track is clear, Willie Bowden has moved over to the ambulance. I'm sure they're going to take him off and treat that leg. That's the major injury, I would imagine, that he has. Here are the final results of Moto 2. Antunes wins it second time. Smith, Flowers, Wiggins, Derek Nasvik is fifth. But in the overall standings, the top four riders are exactly the same. They finished the same. But Joel Albrecht, thanks to a fourth-place finish in the first moto, moves into fifth overall. Now let's go to Steve.
Well, buddy, you showed him absolutely no mercy today. Back-to-back victories. Beautiful.
Well, all I did was really just try to stay smooth and just make sure I didn't go down and just basically just stay up and ride with my head. And
you know, a lot of the mini riders, not to mention their parents, are wondering just how long Buddy is going to stay in minis. They wouldn't mind seeing you move up, son.
Probably, but I still got 3 more years left on the minis.
Is that right? So you're how old?
14.
And you can ride to the end of your 16th birthday season?
Yeah.
Okay, well, terrific job again. What can I say? It was beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Buddy Antunes, he's won the Golden State Nationals. Brock?
Okay, I'm with Butch Smith, who's run second behind Buddy in both motos. That got a little bit closer this time, but still got to be a little frustrating, Butch.
Yes, it does. I got stuck in the gate on the second moto, so it held me back a little bit.
You worked up pretty good, though. You had a couple of riders go down in front of you, but do you think you still could have maybe had a shot at Buddy if you hadn't been slowed up there at the beginning?
Yeah, I think I was going to go for it and see if I could beat him.
Well, you did a super job. How old are you, buddy?
14.
Okay. You got a couple more years in this deal, huh?
Yeah.
And moving on up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Super ride.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, Steve, what's next?
Well, it's nervous time down here at the starting line, Brock. All of the 250 machines have been rolled to the gate for the final moto. Most of the riders are on board. In the background, you can hear some of them still practicing starts down the grid just a bit. Everybody has come out and picked up their starting gate, making sure that it is going to fall and not hang up on dirt or debris or anything else. And if you look down underneath the motorcycle tires, you'll see a lot of these guys, a lot of these riders personally have taken a small shovel and carved themselves a little launch groove, manicured that dirt to try to get the best start possible. As we've seen today, the start is critical in motocross. Stay with us. We'll be back with the action right after the...
Before we get back to the action at Carlsbad, let's take a quick look at one of the prettier sections of beautiful San Diego. This is the Heritage Park section that attracts a lot of tourists. There's a lady with her video camera. Years ago, she'd have shown up with an Instamatic, but now everybody's into video. And speaking of video, we're about ready to shoot some action here at the start of the second moto for the 250cc Pros, Steve Evans.
And at a racetrack with a tremendous motocross heritage, Carlsbad, California. Here is Eric Keogh on his Suzuki. Now, he finished fourth in moto number 1, garnered 34 points. He's still got a shot at it overall. Now, finishing third in moto number 1 was the always colorfully dressed Brock Glover, El Cajon, California. He picked up 36 points. Remember, here it's the high point rider that wins. Ricky Johnson, well, he was the second place rider, putting on, as always, an amazing show of balance and stamina. He picked up 38 points. Earlier, I took a look at what goes on between motos with these machines and their crews, getting them ready. Honda superstar Ricky Johnson will be the first to tell you that this man, Brian Lunas, is a very important part of his winning combination. He's the tuner on this motorcycle. Now, between motos, they'll have a conversation, and these things may happen. Number one, if the track is getting hard, they're liable to change the exhaust pipe here, because on a two-stroke motor, that controls the power band. They'll try to put the power down lower so that Ricky can just roll on the throttle without spinning the rear tire. Brian will take out the spark plug, and the color of that plug will tell him how the engine is running. He may rejet the carburetor. Also, depending on Ricky's demands, they may change the gearing on the motorcycle with this sprocket, and more often than not, they will replace the rear tire between motos. The final thing they do is wipe off the number plate and top off the fuel tank with a 32-to-1 oil and gas mixture.
All right, there's Johnson on board, motor revved up. He is ready for the start of the second moto. And right beside him, Steve Evans, is the arch rival.
Oh, yeah, and no one has to tell anybody at this gate that if they're to win, this man has to be defeated. Jeff Ward, number 58, on the Kawasaki. Mission Viejo, California. During the off-season, some of these riders like to relax, get a little surfing in. Not wordy. He races year-round. He'll go to Europe. He'll go anywhere there's a motorcycle race. He just doesn't want to lose that edge. Ricky Johnson, Jeff Ward, Lachine, they're all in this final moto. And look at the drag race into turn one. That is positively frightening.
There they go, funneling into that hairpin, one of the most spectacular sights in all the sports. And amazingly, they all make it through.
And making it through first on his Honda is number 83, George Holland. But for Brock Glover fans, good news. He's in the second spot on that number 54 Yamaha. And Ricky Johnson, he had a first-rate start, 1R. The Honda of Johnson is in the third slot. This could be a beaut.
All right, so here comes Holland leading him up the hill on the Honda. Right behind him, Brock Glover on the Yamaha, and Ricky Johnson in another Honda in third spot.
Everybody right now just getting their wings back as they come over one of the more spectacular jumps here at Carlsbad Raceway. Now, if you're curious as to where the points leader, Jeff Ward, is, well, his Kawasaki is back in the fourth position, easily within striking distance.
All right, here comes Holland, and right behind him is Glover and Johnson. They're both going to assault him as they head down the freeway. All right, George Holland still holds on down through the fastest part of this racetrack. But there is Brock Glover right on his tail, and Ricky Johnson ready to make his move.
No one rides the freeway at Carlsbad like Brock Glover and Ricky Johnson. There goes Glover by Holland, and also Ricky Johnson passes his Honda teammate. Glover and Johnson running 1 and 2.
You can see Glover just take a quick peek over his shoulder to see if Ricky Johnson gotten by as well. I'm sure he was hoping he had, because if Holland could have stayed between them, it could have meant maybe Glover could have broken free a little bit.
And back in that fourth position still is Jeff Ward on the Kawasaki. There is the green machine. All right, first is Glover, then Johnson, then Holland, then Ward, then Lachine.
So there are your top 5 riders, and unless we have a total disaster here, Steve, the winner has got to come from among this group.
All right, we should point out that if there is a tie in the score, your finish in this moto determines the winner. This is the more important, the priority moto as far as scoring is concerned.
So theoretically, Ricky Johnson is ahead, correct? Because he's 2 places in front of Jeff Ward at this particular point if they were to finish like this.
That's right. Well, the key word there is at this particular point. There is Glover on the 84 bike. Johnson right now staying a couple of bike lengths back.
Look at Ricky Johnson slide that thing, power slide like a sprint car through that corner, trying to make up ground on Brock Glover. And right now, though, Glover holds him off. These 2 riders are broken free from everybody else. Here comes George Holland, and there's Jeff Ward trying to challenge him as they head down the Carlsbad Freeway.
And what a wonderful afternoon this has been for Brock Glover. Even though right now Ricky Johnson is passing him, Glover has proved his point. He can still ride with the world's best. Look at Glover come back. A man who has only ridden twice last week and this week in almost a year. Brock Glover is giving Ricky Johnson everything he can handle. But Johnson right now in the lead on the Honda over the Yamaha.
He's just flying now, Steve. He's broken loose. He's got about 3 or 4 bike lengths on Brock Glover, and it looks like if this is Ricky Johnson's day, he is just unbeatable here at Carlsbad.
Well, something else he has with his second moto, and that is a tight left grip. Remember, he said that grip was loose and spinning around, and he really couldn't use his clutch and hang onto the handlebar the way he should. Johnson is flying. We've got plenty more coming from Carlsbad. Don't go away now.
All right, that is Jeff Ward trying to catch up, but Rick Johnson, his arch rival, now leads it. Glover in second. Ward has moved into third spot. George Holland falling back to fourth.
Yeah, and George Holland is having quite a fight there with Ron Lachine for that 4th spot. Lachine, the number 53 rider. That is Holland on the red bike and Lachine on the green Kawasaki. Lachine now in that 4th position.
George Holland having problems kind of advancing to the rear. Led it for a while. Now he's way back in 5th spot, Steve.
You know, Brock, you'll notice when these riders twist that grip abruptly to get a quick burst of power, that rear wheel will spin and throw a rooster tail of dirt into the rider's face behind him. Not only does it make vision a little bit difficult, but it can hurt as well.
Sure can. as we watch these guys. This course is really getting bumpy now. They're just running through ruts all the way around here as we watch Jeff Ward sitting in the third spot. Now, he's got his work cut out for him. Remember, he's got to win this thing to win it overall, because if Ricky Johnson holds on in the lead, he will finish second overall between the two motos.
Well, even if Jeff Ward is able to catch Brock Lovers for second place, that is still not enough. He's got to beat Johnson cleanly here.
Absolutely. Rick Johnson, though, not giving an inch. In fact, he's just flying. He loves this racetrack. It's just down the road from his home. He grew up here, has ridden here. Probably could run it blindfolded, I would imagine.
Oh, I think he could, as could Brock Glover. To tell the truth, Jeff Ward, he doesn't like riding it with both eyes wide open. But the way the young man they used to call the Flying Freckle in his mini-class days is riding here today, you wouldn't know that this is not his favorite course, because he's right there in the top three, Brock Glover and Ricky Johnson, the only two riders ahead of the man on the green machine. You know, we talk about the dominance of the Japanese bikes in this form of racing. Well, for sure, that's true. But there may be a light at the end of the tunnel for people who like to buy American.
Soon, American motocross fans may have an American bike to root for. This is the ATK 250, born in the USA. Its designer and builder, Horst Leitner, has dedicated himself to creating a very simple, easy to maintain, inexpensive, yet bullet-fast competition machine. And its beauty really is in its simplicity. It's an American-built frame with components from around the world. And the rear suspension is just wonderful. Take a look at the mono shock. Instead of being located in the center of the bike, as all the Japanese have done, it's on the outboard side of the swing arm. It makes it very easy to adjust and to maintain, and allows you to build a very big air box inside for the carburetor. Now, look at the rear axle. See anything missing? Right. There's no brake. Now, Horst is not crazy. He has located the hydraulic disc brake right here on the output shaft of the engine. Reduces weight, and it's a more effective braking tool. Now, the engine is built in Canada, the famous rotary valve Rotex. It has powered so many motorcycles and snowmobiles successfully. Talking to guys who have ridden this machine, they give it very high marks, especially on handling, and with a little more power, feel that it could be a competitive machine.
But right now, Steve, it's still an all-Japanese show as far as the motorcycle is concerned. But the riders, they're all American. That is Brock Glover and Jeff Ward fighting it out for the second spot. Now, Ward is desperately trying to get by Glover because he wants a shot at Rick Johnson in the overall victory in these two motos.
But I'll tell you, it's this kind of competition here at Carlsbad, even though the riders are American, that generates a lot of telexes to Japan, especially when your rider on a Kawasaki can get around one of the best in the world on a Yamaha. They'll know about that in Tokyo tomorrow morning.
Jeff Ward underneath Brock Glover down the Carlsbad Freeway and takes over that second spot. Now, let's see whether he can run down Rick Johnson. It's a clear track ahead. Only one man sits in front of him, and that is Rick Johnson. So we've got the three, probably the finest motocross riders in the world, sitting 1, 2, and 3. And an event that's coming down to a duel between the two guys who got a chance for an overall victory here, Johnson and Ward.
And I assure you that Jeff Ward has done the bookkeeping in his head. He knows that to win overall, he's got to find that red bike and pass it. Stay with us.
All right, we're back at the Golden State Nationals where time is running out for Jeff Ward, but right now we're watching the race for fourth spot between Ron Lechien and Jeff Lees. And Lechien at this point, Steve Evans, seems to be able to hold him off.
He is, and both riders right now are closing on the rider in the last position, number 39, Jason Upshaw.
A lot of sportsmanship, though, here, Steve. The slower riders don't balk in any way the faster guys and generally move out of the way and let them right on through.
You know, Brock, it's incredible considering the competition on this course today, how little dust there is. It has really held up well. That says a lot for Stu Peters and his crew at CMC, their prep of the track, because these bikes are like a bunch of 80-mile-an-hour mountain goats. They can move a lot of dirt. And look at this side by side is number 7, Jeff Lees, and 53, Ron Lechien. And who comes out on top? It is 53 again.
Yep, he's able to hold him off, and it's been that way all the way here, but Lees has dogged him for the last 3 or 4 laps, so it certainly isn't over yet.
No, it's not, as they ride out of the shadows back into the sunshine. The shadows lengthening here at Carlsbad, but there's not much time left in this race. If anybody's going to pick up a position, they better start doing it right now, because there's the last lap, the white flag for Lechien and also for Jeff Lees, which means that Ricky Johnson and Jeff Ward, running 1 and 2, have already seen it.
And frankly, Steve, the leaders, Johnson, Ward, and Glover, are all spread out enough, so that probably is not going to change unless one of them falls. The race is for fourth between Lachine and Leask, and they continue to go at it.
And believe it or not, Lachine on that Kawasaki is also from El Cajon, California. How does one little town down near the Mexican border turn out so many championship quality motocross riders? All right, now they are lapping Johnny O'Mara. Johnny O, as the fans call him, a superstar rider having an awfully bad day.
Probably some mechanical problems holding him up as we watch Lachine continue to open it up a little bit on Leask, and unless he has some problems or takes a spill, I would imagine he's going to be able to hold it off. All right, here is your leader, Rick Johnson, on the final few corners that lie ahead for him for victory in the second moto and an overall win here.
I'll tell you, Brock, I can't imagine anything's going to go wrong unless the motor flat quits in that machine, and then he'd try to push it to the finish line. RJ, Rick Johnson, will he win for the second year in a row? And our coverage from Carlsbad, it sure looks like it will. But there is Jeff Ward on the green Kawasaki, still pouring on all the power he can. And you figure these bikes make almost 50 horsepower and weigh just about 210 pounds. And you never know it, the way they fly them through the air. Rick Johnson has taken the checkered flag for the second year in a row, this year without quite the pain he had to endure 12 months ago.
So Ward second, Brock Glover finishes in third, and here comes Ron Lachine, finally capturing that fourth spot over Jeff Leask. I'll tell you what, Steve, I'd love to see these 4 or 5 guys go absolutely head-to-head, start them out with a match race. What a show that would be.
Where do I get my tickets? As far as Moto 2 is concerned, Johnson, Ward, Glover, Lachine, Leask. Now, what about the combined score? Rick Johnson wins it because of his better finish in Moto number 2. Jeff Ward settles for second, followed by Glover, Lachine, and Kehoe. Right now, Brock Yates is with Rick Johnson.
Well, Steve, I'm with the winner of the second moto in the 250 class, and also the winner of the overall of the Golden State Nationals for, I would imagine, about the 900th time. Got to feel pretty good. Ricky got that grip fixed, obviously.
Yeah, I got my grip fixed, but I can't seem to get my helmet off. But yeah, turned out real well today. I got a lot better start in that second moto, and I was riding a little tight because I hole shotted it. You know, I wasn't into the first turn first, but I made it. The opening lap, I was in first, and felt good to be out there, but I keyed up a little bit, and I wasn't riding as aggressive as I was in the first moto. You
weren't riding quite as hard? You got a good stout lead, then. Did you back down a little bit in the second half? Or?
Well, no. What happens sometimes when you get out in front and you don't really have no one there to push you, you relax, but yeah. I was going as fast as I could, but when you don't have nothing to chase, it's kind of hard to chase an invisible object.
But you get a concentration problem then. You're not paying attention. You make a mistake then, right?
Yeah, I used to have a real bad problem. When I get good starts, I'd fall a lot because I wasn't chasing anybody. I had to push myself, and that's what's hard to accumulate is the way to push yourself when you're out in front.
Right. Well, you sure did a super job today. Congratulations. Great victory.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Okay, Steve.
Well, Brock, the look of disappointment says it all for Jeff Ward. If you could just swap those 2 finishes, Brock would have been talking to you instead of Ricky Johnson a moment ago.
Yeah, well, he got off to a good start, and then I got behind Brock and held me up for a little bit, you know, a couple corners, and the rooster's really bad out there, and the sun's real bad, so it's kind of hard when you're behind somebody to pick a good line. And then once I got by Brock, Ricky had a good, comfortable, you know, what I would call a comfortable lead, and then I closed in a little bit at the end, but I was riding really tight, and it's really hard to make up time out there. The track's too fast, and
you're reading a lot of dirt too.
Yeah, a little bit. Ricky really rides this track well, and you know, I'm happy to beat him a moto here because he always goes fast here, and I actually hate this track, so not too bad.
Ricky told Brock that it's difficult for him when he doesn't have someone to chase, when he has to motivate himself to go fast. Do you have that same problem?
Well, it's not harder. It's harder to be out front because you don't have anybody to dice with, and you're against yourself, and you can really ruin your flow and get tight, and then the guy who would come up from behind can catch you really easy, because when you get a mid-pack start, you're not thinking about nothing but passing. You're not worried about anybody else behind you. And when you're out front, you have sometimes a tendency to kind of look back, and when they close on you a second, you kind of start panicking a little bit and make some big mistakes.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's take one final look at the 80cc and the 250cc winners here at Carlsbad today. We sure had fun at this famous old track. Hope you did. I'm Brock Yates for Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team, the nation's premier source of fast lane fashions. Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.